Okay, did I do it? Let me know if I'm on. This is really weird. I'm doing it from a phone now because my laptop broke. Yes, my phone and my laptop broke in the same week, so this is very strange. I don't think I'm going to be able to drop links in the chat anymore. No, this is private chat. Hold on. Work with me. Nope. Yes, hi Amber. I'm here. Oh no, I'm not going to be able to. Hey Susie, can you guys hear me? Okay, guest. Add to stream. Hey Trenda.
Hey.
Oh, this is going to be really weird. Layout. Okay. Oh, this is going to take some getting used to. I can't type in the chat anymore, which means I can't drop links. Oh, that sucks. How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited. I had this all prepared yesterday. As you know, you're supposed to do it. And then at the last moment, my laptop crashed, which sucks, but I'm happy I'm able to get on today. So bear with us, guys. I sent Trenda a few pictures and a couple audios. So as we go on, because I know a visual presentation is very important, especially with this case, because it's very confusing and there's a lot of components to it, but it's the first time we're trying to screen share through Trenda. So just bear with us in case we make any mistakes, which we'll probably make mistakes, but that's okay. That's okay. So there's not that many people in here, and that's okay because it's Friday night, and I know there's a lot of drama lives going on. But for the people that are in here, it's going to be a treat. I'm telling you. This case, no, thank you, Amber. This case is really interesting. How many of you guys in the chat, the few that are in here, know about the Rebecca Zahau case? Put a 1 in the chat if you know. And we're going to wait for Brittany because we're going to wait. Hey, Broken Dishes. Hey, CDC Dogs. Put a 1 in the chat if you're familiar with this case. I'm really interested while I get my notes out. 1, a little CDC. Amber, you haven't heard of it? Okay. It's good. Broken Dishes 2. Okay. Oh, I'm excited. You guys, it's a bizarre one. It's one of those that just you're going to be in a rabbit hole. You're going to be in a rabbit hole, and at least with me at the end of this case, I don't have an opinion. Hey Mike, I don't have an opinion one way or the other. What about you, Trenda? At the end of the case, are you more one way or another?
That one's a tough one. I haven't really gone too deep into it, but from what I read last night, if I had to choose, I would go with murder.
Yeah.
But you're right, it is a really tough one, and it's easier just to stay objective because there's evidence to both. So yep. It's a tough one.
Hey Mel Hawks. Hey Alicia, it's so good to see you guys. I'm telling you guys, fasten up because this is going to be a deep rabbit hole. Do you want to try to see if we could share your screen now so we could get up before Brittany comes?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so
just one moment.
Yeah, before we do anything, just open me and yours messages in Messenger and double click on the first photo, meaning you won't even see Messenger anymore. It'll just start a slideshow.
Already got that up.
Oh, awesome.
So, okay.
Okay, Britt. So then all you do at the bottom of the screen, you should see an option to share screen.
Okay.
Oh, I can post a comment. Okay, hold on. Let me see. Tell me if this works for you guys down there. If you could see my StreamYard comment. I'm sorry, guys. Bear with us. You should see it where it says Mike, Cam, guest. No, yours would say Mike, Cam. I don't know if it would say guest, but it would say share screen. And it's a box.
Yeah, I have it.
Okay.
I have it ready to go.
Up. Okay, hold on. I see it. Perfect. Okay. So so just as we go to the right or left, whichever way the photos go in order, and the photos are in a timeline format. So as we continue with the story, you should just be able to click it. There's only one time where we pull up the 911 audio and two other videos where I'll have you stop sharing your screen. Like I'll pull you down and we'll pull those back up. But we're good with the pictures for now. But I'm excited. I'm really excited. Okay. So we're just going to start. I'll give you guys a basis while we wait for Brittany to come up. So this is Rebecca Zahau. She was dating a pharmaceutical typhoon boyfriend, and they lived in the Spreckles mansion. Okay, so this guy was loaded. Lots of money. This mansion was gorgeous. It was right in the middle of like a populated area to where it's actually kind of like a tourist attraction. Lots of people would walk by it every day. So we're going to take you back to July 2011. Rebecca Zahau was 32 years old. Okay. She was in her prime. Her boyfriend's name was Jonah Shacknai. Jonah was married twice before, and he had 2 children. He had a young boy named Max, who was 6 years old. And Trenda, at any time, just barge in with whatever you want to say. Okay. So, in 2011, Rebecca and her younger sister, Zena, was at the mansion. And they were watching over Max. There was nobody else at the house. Rebecca's sister Zena was visiting. And there was an accident. Max went over the second story banister of the second floor. And you could just put on the next picture, Trenda. No, that's not. Okay, so that's Jonah's brother. Hold on, sorry. Must have sent in the wrong order.
Is this one you're looking for?
Yeah, I was looking.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, Trenda. So Max fell over the second story banister. Nobody saw him fall. As I said, it was just Rebecca and Zena in the house. Max suffered injuries to his spine and broke bones to his face. The chandelier that was hanging from the ceiling was broken. Rebecca and Zena were nowhere near when Max went over. Rebecca was in the bathroom when she heard a crash and went running. So they found Max at the bottom, and that's a layout right here you guys are looking at of the interior. So they theorized he was riding his scooter on the second floor, and for some reason he gained enough momentum to go over the banister, basically hang from the chandelier, and hit the railing of the first floor and then crash down. Rebecca and Zena were nowhere in sight. Rebecca says she was in the bathroom when she heard a crash, and Zena called 911. what's odd about the 911 call? Hey, Rose Gold. Well, yeah, Amber, and we'll get into that. Not just a lot of force, but his center of gravity. If anyone knows anything about physics, when they keep a railing at a certain height, it's because even if you go running and slam that railing, your center of gravity has to be above that height, meaning it's enough to pull you over. And there's a lot of discrepancies in regards to his center of gravity, whether or not he would have been even able to flip over that banister, which he wasn't able to. But we'll get into that. Like I said, when they found him, there was a scooter resting on his leg. But at the end of the 911 call, when Zena, Rebecca's sister, called and they were trying to get paramedics out there, at the end of the call, Rebecca could be heard saying, "Don't open that door. Don't open that door." As in, don't let the paramedics in. Don't know why. That's strange. Why would she not, right? Trenda, did you not? Like, that's strange, right? Don't open that door. Hey, Britt.
Hey, how do I sound? Because I can't find my earbuds.
You sound okay to me.
Okay. Retrinda, is it all right?
Yeah, you sound good to me too.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So hold on. Let me pull up the photos I sent Trenda so I could just tell her which one to grab from now on, because that confused me. Perfect. Oh, no, it was in order. It was in order. That was just me. Okay, Trenda, can you get to the next photo? Which is the crime scene of Max. Yes, okay. So this is the area where they found Max. In the bottom right, you could still see there's a scooter. There was a couple of soccer balls found in the area. Perfect. Thank you, Trenda. And like we said, the chandelier that was hanging was crashed. Hey, Breezy. And so for her to say, "Don't open that door," is alarming. It is alarming. Hey, Road. And Brittany, I'm going to tell you the same thing that I'm telling Trenda. Just interrupt and add whenever. I'm just going to follow my notes. So just add when you want to add. So when the paramedics finally did get in, Rebecca was saying that Max kept saying Ocean over and over again. Ocean was Rebecca's dog. And so it was kind of implying that this fall happened because of the dog. The dog became somehow in play, but that contradicted itself, because others say when they first got to Max, he was unresponsive and not breathing. So there was no way he could possibly be talking to her, and he was unresponsive and not breathing when they got to her. So they theorized that he never said that at all. And he had a spinal injury, don't forget, which would have prevented him from being able to talk. Weird. And this is where it really starts to bother me, because when I think about how Rebecca was found, but then I think about to this stuff, and it's like, well, it contradicts one another. So subsequent investigations dispute that Max could have gone over the railing by himself. His center of gravity was too low if he was on a scooter. Trenda, you could go to the next photo, and trigger warning, it's a photo of Max in the hospital. Okay, perfect. So subsequent investigations dispute he could have even gone over the railing by himself. His center of gravity was too low. If he was on a scooter, the carpet would have prevented Max from going too fast. So even if Max was riding down that hallway on a scooter, once he hit that railing, because of his height, his center of gravity, just like all of ours, is in our core. right? If you are going to flip over the stairs, you kind of have to lift your arms up and then you could flip over. His center of gravity wouldn't have been able to flip him over that banister, let alone on a scooter on carpet. We all know what it's like to try to push yourself on a scooter on carpet. It just doesn't go.
No, and I was going to just add too, because I remember when I was looking into this, the actual railing it was an average height
Mm-hmm.
railing, and any of you know, if you've got, 2 stories, you know that that's about waist high for, someone my height, which I'm 5'6". So you can imagine this little kid on a scooter. It's virtually impossible.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hey,
mean,
Nicole.
it's crazy.
Hey guys, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm so happy you decided to come up. Nicole's very educated on this case.
Hey, Nicole. It's good
Hi
to see
guys.
you.
I just snuck up just now.
You just what?
Snuck up. She said she didn't see me, so.
Oh, yeah, she just got up. Okay, I'm excited. So I'm going to tell you, Nicole, the same thing I'm telling to Trenda and Britt. Interrupt whenever you want. I just have a timeline that I'm going down. So add whatever you want. Stop me whenever you want to add.
Okay.
Okay. So, like I said, his center of gravity was too low. So they do not theorize he would have even been able to make it over that railing himself. There were also no cuts on his hands, despite the scene showing he would have grabbed onto that chandelier. So like I told you guys, that chandelier was broken. The whole diagram that I showed you guys where they theorize he fell over, basically rode this chandelier and flopped his way down, it would have presented cuts on his hands grabbing a glass chandelier. Later examination from a doctor shows Max may have been suffocated before he fell, and that's going to be a big one. Oh, welcome 426 Hemi. Welcome. So happy you decided to join. So that's going to be a big thing that comes into play. That they theorize, a doctor said that there's a good chance that Max may have been suffocated before he fell. So the only 2 people that were in that house at that time was Rebecca and Rebecca's sister Zena. Max was rushed to the hospital. Later that day, Rebecca had to pick up Max's mother's sister, Nina, from the airport. Okay, so Max, who's on the screen, his mother, her sister. Up, we dropped Nicole. Oh no. Nina said that Rebecca was acting strangely and wasn't, hold on. This is going to get me so long to get used to this. Okay. Nina said that Rebecca was acting strangely and wasn't exactly forthcoming about Max's fall. So just imagine if you're getting picked up from the airport about your nephew who's in the hospital, you're going to have a lot of questions, right? You're going to be like, what happened? What exactly happened? This, and that. And Rebecca did not seem like she even wanted to talk about it whatsoever. Hey, Cheryl. The next day, Rebecca picked up Jonah's younger brother, Adam, from the airport. And that's the man we saw in the beginning. Max was on life support in the ICU, but his condition was thought to be stable. Adam, Jonah, and Rebecca had dinner together on the evening of July 12th. Jonah then returned to the hospital to go be with Max, while Adam and Rebecca went back to the mansion. You could go to the next slide, Trenda. I don't know what it is, but you could go to it. Okay. Adam was staying in the guest house. So you guys have to keep in mind how big this mansion was. The guest house was completely separate from the actual mansion. So Rebecca was alone in the mansion. Zena had flown back the day previous, and Adam said he took a sleeping pill and fell asleep about 8 p.m.
Melissa, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Because I lost connectivity for a second, so I didn't hear a few minutes. So so I know that you knew Nina was there, but it was my understanding that she was actually more of a witness to what happened than Rebecca was. And that
Nina or
story,
Xena?
yeah, I'm sorry. But her
Xena.
sister.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until after they were making arrangements to have her leave out of town initially that the story changed a little bit. So I just think that I just want to put that in everybody's mind, because I want them to be aware that she left town really quickly after this happened. And there's a lot of things that we'll find out along with the investigation, that why do you want one of the witnesses to this? Why were they leaving so quickly? Do you know what I mean?
You think it's strange too. If something that traumatic happened, I found it strange that the first thing you do is book it out of town. I would want to be there for my sister.
And what the reason I bring it up is because you'll find out in discussing the case how little she is a part of the investigation. It's almost like she wasn't even there. So I just wanted to add that, because I wasn't sure what you had said about her, because I lost service. So
no, please do add whatever. Anybody stop me and add whatever, else I'll just go through the entire timeline without anyone stopping me. But yeah, or the lack of an investigation, because there really wasn't.
Right.
Okay. So, like I said, Adam said he took a sleeping pill. Him, Jonah, Adam, and Rebecca all went out to dinner. Jonah went to the hospital afterwards to go visit Max, and Rebecca and Adam returned to the mansion. Adam stayed in the guest house. He claimed he took a sleeping pill and fell asleep at 8 p.m. At 6:48 a.m., Adam was walking up to the mansion to get coffee, and he found Rebecca's body hanging. Rebecca was bound, gagged, nude, and hanging from the second-story balcony of the mansion outside. Keep in mind, like I told you guys in the beginning, this was a populated area, and it was a really nice area. So it was full view almost. Like, yes, it was private, but it was open to be seen. So she was just hanging there, arms bound behind her, legs bound, naked, gagged, hanging outside. Adam cut her down, and the police arrived, and she was laying in the courtyard. And if you want, Trenda, I have the audio of the 911 call if you want to play it.
Yeah, I can do that. Just give me one moment.
Okay. Take your time. So Adam says he took a sleeping pill at 8 p.m. At 6:48 a.m., walks from the guest house into the mansion, and that is where he found Rebecca hanging, gagged, arms behind her back, legs bound, nude. And what we're going to get into later is these weren't just regular knots. These knots were intricate.
And before she plays, or when she plays it, I'm curious to see if anybody in the chat picks up on kind of an important detail of the 911 call.
Awesome. And like, my recording skills were really bad, guys. I had to record it off my laptop with a shitty phone, and like, so I'm recording a recording, but I did my best I could. Hey, Brandy. Yeah, Melhawks. Well, and that's what we're going to get into later in the investigation, and I'm going to show you the clip of the authorities attempting to what Rebecca would have had to do in order to bound herself like that. And they argued it, and these knots were crazy. And you're going to see it for yourself.
I'm not like trying to be disrespectful towards any victims of this case, but I just remember like the first time that I heard about it and really looked into it, it really reminded me a little bit of that game Clue. You know what I'm talking about? Where different people, the game Clue, where different people end up dying mysteriously in the mansion.
Oh, the game Clue.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, Clue, the game. That's what it
Yeah, like
reminded.
Professor,
It
like
gives me
Miss
those
Scarlet
vibes.
in the laboratory with the candlestick.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get into that
Yeah.
426 Hemi.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
I mean, and there's also, this is jumping ahead a little bit, but there's also, I don't know if you covered the mansion where it took place was Spreckles Mansion. Spreckles Mansion was one of the original properties from one of the founders of Coronado. So even though it was a property that Jonas had purchased, it's very much a part of Coronado old money. And there's certain things people don't want to happen in their neighborhood. So even the community and neighborhood have reasons to not want necessarily everything to come out.
Old money.
Okay, I got the video ready.
Oh, okay, awesome. So I'm waiting for guests. Okay.
And if you guys hear my dog, like, please ignore him. I apologize.
You're fine, Trenda.
Okay.
Okay. You can play it. Hey, Irvin. Oh, not this one.
Oh,
Yeah, it's not this one. It's the first one. You could play this one too, though, but is the audio? You have to go to the right. So all the way to the right where you see the volume. Yes, but you could restart this one too. That's okay. We could play it while it's on. It's just a news clip of it.
Mystery continues over the brutal death of a woman at a historic mansion in Coronado. The body of 32-year-old Rebecca Nalepa was found hanging from a second-floor balcony naked with her hands and feet bound.
10 News reporter Dave Arena begins our team coverage with what we're learning from the last people to see her alive.
Detectives are cleared from the house, but the investigation is still a very active one. They're assessing evidence and questioning witnesses. Was the girlfriend of the mansion owner murdered, or did she die some other way? The death is very suspicious. Sky 10 shows the courtyard out back. Rebecca Nalepa was found dead yesterday morning. We blurred out her nude body, but you can see that her wrists and ankles have been bound, and there's a rope trailing from where it was attached to her neck.
Okay. And now
Mystery continues over the brutal death of a woman at a historic mansion.
Yeah, Rose Gold. I'm gonna text you. I'm gonna text you, Rose Gold.
Okay.
Yeah, Nicole. I see it, yeah.
You might be not lost.
Oh.
You might not be lost.
Yeah, Cheryl, it's right across the street from the beach. Oh, and happy anniversary, Brandy.
Let me see.
Hi to everybody in chat. I just realized I didn't say hello to anybody. I'm sorry.
Hello to everybody.
Okay, I figured it out. I got the first one.
Okay. Up, right, everybody drinking.
Yeah, emergency, are you recording? Yeah, I got a girl on herself in a guest house of, it's on Ocean Boulevard across from the hotel, same place that you came and got the kid yesterday. Okay, sir, what is the address? I'm not sure. 19, I mean, the back house is 1921 something. I'm not sure. Let me call you back. Okay, sir. Is she still alive? I don't know. Okay.
Brenda, can you play that one more time? But when you play it, can you mute your mic just because there's feedback?
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you. No, don't apologize.
Don't apologize, Trenda. Don't do it.
Darth Vader calling 911.
Mayor emergency, what are you reporting?
Yeah, I got a girl hung herself in a guest house of, it's on Ocean Boulevard across from the hotel, same place that you came and got the kid yesterday.
Okay, sir, what is the address?
I'm not sure. 19, the back house is 1928 something. I'm not sure. Let me call you back.
Okay, sir, is she still alive?
I don't know.
Okay. Mayor emergency, what are you reporting?
Yeah, I got a girl
Perfect, Trenda. Thank
hung
you.
herself.
Okay. And whenever you get a chance, can you pull up the balcony photo, which is the next photo in our list?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry I'm making you do all this.
No, it's okay.
It's just already such a confusing case that not seeing anything visually, it's so much harder too. But Nicole, do you want to go over the 911 call? Is there anything you wanted to address with it?
So there was one thing that I always found strange, and her family picked up on it as well, and we'll probably get into that a little bit later on with what steps they took. But it never sat well with me that he called in that a girl had hung her. There's a girl hanging. This isn't a girl. This is the only person you know to be on that property. She's the one you picked up at the airport. She's been with your brother for 3 years. It just never sat well with me. It seemed like he was trying to disconnect himself from what was happening.
Distancing technique.
Right.
And he also said, it's where you picked up the kid the other day.
Right, exactly.
As if the 911 phone call operator is going to know, oh, yeah, Max, yeah, like they deal with so many calls throughout the day. But yeah,
right.
And for anyone who had trouble hearing it, he's like, I have a girl, she's hanging, I found her like this. Well, M. Fisher, that's a great question, and that's going to be a big issue that comes into play later on.
Right.
Trenda, Britt, is there anything you want to address?
Actually, yes. So I didn't actually listen to the 911 call until now. So I thought that was really interesting. With the way you explained the death of the boyfriend's son, Max, and now kind of understanding a little bit more of like her death, it really makes me wonder if it was, I don't know how to put it, almost like a revenge killing in a way, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It just really makes me wonder.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's an astute observation.
Yep. And for the people who are asking, okay, so she is found nude, gagged, bound, hanging from this second floor balcony. When the police arrived, Adam cut her down and then the police arrived, okay? She was laying out in the courtyard. That was the scene we saw with the news reporter when the police arrived. The medical examiner determined Rebecca's official cause of death was suicide by hanging. No drugs or alcohol found in her system. Time of death estimated to be about 3 a.m., which was 4 hours before Adam allegedly found her. The room which she jumped from, which is in the back, you see how you guys, that door is open? That was a guest room that she was staying in. On one of the doors in that bedroom, the words, and I quote, "She saved him. Can you save her?" were painted in black paint, and black paint was found on Rebecca's fingers and splashed on her body. And I think that's the next photo, Trenda, or at least this, yeah, it should be the cryptic note. Yeah, Susie, suicide. And look at this note. Ready? Okay, you can zoom into that. This was literally written on one of the doors. She saved him. Can you save her? Okay. So
It sounds like
Blackpink,
one big game.
sorry, Britt.
It just sounds to me like one big game, like someone's playing a game.
Like a movie Saw.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So black paint was found on Rebecca's fingers and splashed on her body. Hours leading up to Rebecca's death, cell phone records show that Rebecca was texting and talking with her older sister Mary in Missouri. They finished up about 9:50 p.m. However, Mary said Rebecca seemed herself. 1 hour later, Nina texted Rebecca and said she would stop by and talk more about how exactly Max fell. Rebecca didn't respond to that text, but 2 hours later, she did listen to a voice message and deleted it. That message was from Jonah telling her Mac's situation was getting worse. He would, in fact, pass away 3 days later. Rebecca was not reported to be depressed or suicidal. Her sister spoke to her that night and she seemed okay. Jonah allegedly said of her suicide, okay, ready for this? Jonah, her boyfriend, allegedly said of her suicide, and I quote, "She comes from a true Asian background. They just look at things differently in terms of responsibility." Rebecca's family were not happy with the results of the investigation. They were sure it was not suicide. However, 7 weeks later, the investigation was closed. 4 months later, Rebecca's family, with a high-profile attorney, successfully requested a second autopsy. And you could go to the next photo, Chanda. They found a number of issues which implied some sort of foul play. Yeah, you could do the next one. Okay, yeah, you could zoom up to that. So this was in the guest bedroom, okay? And as you can see, there's a knife there. And if you're looking, that's the bed frame, and that red is part of the rope that she hung herself with. Hey, gamer guy. So they found a number of issues which implied some sort of foul play in the second autopsy. Rebecca had hemorrhages near the top of her head, which imply blunt force impact. When someone dies, blood starts to pool, and it pooled in her back, not her feet. And if anybody is familiar with true crime, blood is going to pool in the position that so if you die on your back, blood is going to pool in your back because gravity, once your blood stops circulating, gravity is going to pull the blood down. So whichever is the pressure point, whichever is the closest to the floor is what's going to be where your blood is pooling. Rebecca's blood pooled on her back, not her feet, yet she was hanging. So it all should have gone down to her feet. There was another shoe print on the balcony where she went over. The rope she used was attached to the bed frame, like you guys could see here. Yet the bed barely moved from the wall. If Rebecca jumped over that balcony, the weight of her body, that initial boosh, would have moved the bed a few feet. Yet it only moved a few inches. Rebecca was very Christian, and her family tried to claim that there's no chance she would even consider suicide. Exactly, Malhawks. Yeah. There's no chance she would have even considered it an option. Dr. Sile Weck, and I quote, says, she has subgaleal, I don't know how to pronounce it, subgaleal hemorrhages. Those are hemorrhages on the undersurface of the scalp. I see no reason why she would have those. You get those when your head strikes something or is struck by something. In 2013, Rebecca's family filed a $10 million lawsuit. claiming that her death was murder. The suit named Nina, Dina, who's Max's mother, so that's Max's mother and Max's aunt, and Adam as defendants, claiming Rebecca was beaten, gagged, and strangled before being thrown over the balcony. However, the lawsuit would eventually drop both Nina and Dina, leaving Adam, because both of Nina and Dina's alibis checked out. The civil trial began in February of 2018. Before beginning the trial, there was a $1 million offer to settle from the Shacknai side. So that's Jonah and Adam's side. They offered her family $1 million to settle outside of court, but the family rejected it. During the civil trial, experts testified that the message written on the door, that cryptic messages, was more likely to have come from Adam than Rebecca. The A matched Adam's A, and the paint was much higher on the door, and that would have been more likely to come from Adam versus Rebecca, who was much shorter, and it wouldn't have been as comfortable to write all the way up there. But Adam's fingerprints were nowhere to be found. Rebecca's blood was found on a steak knife handle, and that's the steak knife you guys could see, in the guest house where Adam was staying. However, no cuts on her body nor evidence of a sexual assault. Adam says the knife was the one he used to cut her body down. Adam also said he did not believe Rebecca to be responsible for Max's death. And the reason he said that is he wanted to try to explain he had no motive. Why would he? He doesn't consider Rebecca responsible for Max, so why would I kill her? Their closing argument for the plaintiff alleged Adam confronted Rebecca about Max's fall and things went poorly. Adam then struck Rebecca on her head, sexually assaulted her using the handle of the steak knife, then strangled her. Following the assault, Adam bound Rebecca's hands, feet, and neck, forced her over the balcony. After deliberating several hours over 2 days, the jury returned a verdict. 9-3 vote found Adam responsible for Rebecca's death. Majority agreed that Adam had touched Rebecca with the intent to do her harm before her death. The touching then caused her death. A $5 million payout to Rebecca's family for loss of companionship, and also $167,000 for financial support she could have provided to her family was determined by the jury. No prison time because it was a civil trial. When the sheriff in Rebecca's death heard this, he was surprised because, to be fair, there was no evidence that Adam killed her, even though it does seem like it was a murder. After the civil case, Sheriff Department reviewed all evidence. In December 2018, they decided not to reopen the case. Rebecca's family lawyer was not too keen on that. So in 2019, a civil case against Adam was dismissed. He didn't have to pay that money back, and it was dismissed with prejudice, meaning they could not bring Adam back to court under any circumstances. However, the Zahau family are not giving up, and they are trying to change the determination of Rebecca's death from suicide to homicide, therefore reopening the case and the investigation. So, all right, I'm going to give you girls the floor, and let's get into it.
Okay. So, this is where I have a lot of issues with the suicide theory. Excuse if you hear my brother and my children in the background. Anyway, so to kind of start off with so none of the injuries were consistent, in my opinion, with suicide. The long drop would be considered an execution hanging. And she should have been, if she was dropping from anywhere from 9 to 10 feet, the force from it, thank you, M. Fisher, the force from the drop itself should have decapitated her or near decapitated her.
Yep.
She didn't have a single dislocated vertebrae in her neck. So that disproves that theory of being, her hanging herself. The hemorrhages on the top of her head or near the top of her head, okay, let's say that she did hang herself, how would she have gotten the injuries to the top of her head?
Exactly.
So, can I interrupt for a second?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, one thing I just want to, I don't know if you guys had gotten to this part, but one thing that she did have is a broken hyoid bone. That is most common in strangulation, manual strangulation. And they chose to try to write that off as the forceful drop. However, their argument failed because when they argued the findings with the contusions to the head, like you were just mentioning, Trenda, they were claiming that she didn't do a forceful drop, that what she did after she, bound and gagged herself was she leaned over the railing and then did more of a lean roll type of drop.
Yep.
And they're claiming she hit her head that way. But there's the flaw in the argument because they tried to claim that the hyoid bone was broken because of a forceful drop. But then to fit a narrative, they had to change that theory on the drop. So that's part of what I think lends to the fact that the sheriff's office has a lot to hide and they're not coming forth. And I don't know if you guys were able to find out, but as more recent as I want to say the last week of November, just a couple weeks ago, the judge has ordered that the sheriff's department release all parts of the investigation to the Zahau family and their attorney, and they have not done that. So there's been a back and forth, and they've asked for a stay. So it's supposed to go back in January, but they have not given the full investigative file. And there's something to be said for that, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. And Trenda, if you want to go to the next two pictures, just so we could see, I want you guys to see the knots. Okay, so here you could zoom up to here. So this is just more of the crime scene. So look at the way this rope is. Okay, it's tied around this weak ass bed frame through this like dresser over the balcony, and we all know that if that amount of weight dropped, it's going to yank that metal bed frame. And it didn't. It was only a couple of inches off the wall, which would make more sense if she was lowered. Okay. And then if you go to the next picture, Trenda, and I have a video of it too, but we'll get there. Look at this. And so they did this whole example of the intricate, what it would take for Rebecca to bound her own. Look at these knots, okay? Look at the knots. And when they did it, they didn't even do the correct one. But she didn't even grow up around water. So to say that she had some type of experience to do these intricate knots, these fancy knots that you have to learn around her feet, then gagged herself around her back with her ropes and hobbled over and then jumped and flipped over this balcony is absurd.
Well, and not only that, but come to find out, Adam, he actually, the line of work he did, I can't remember the exact title.
He's a tugboat captain.
Okay, yes. So he knew how to tie these knots. He was very well, educated on it, and it came naturally to him.
Mm-hmm.
So
a tugboat captain, people, like, and aren't these are some type of shipping.
Yes, they are nautical knots. They are not, and I know somebody in the chat said it, and I know it's been raised in the investigation several times. These types of knot, yes, could be used in, rope play, BDSM type of scenarios, but they have had numerous people that are experts in that field that have said, even as someone that's an expert with rope play, it would be hard for them to do it behind their back.
Yep. This was behind her back, people.
Yeah.
And yes, Susie, so it was tied to the bed frame. It wasn't even tied to the railing, like over the balcony. It was tied to the bed frame. So, and just like 426 Hemi said, even if it was a 100-pound person, the weight of that drop at free fall would be 2 to 3 times that weight. It's gonna pull your bed frame. I could sit on my bed right now, and if I just jump on too quickly, the whole thing the whole thing shifts. So you're telling me that this girl, drops at dead weight free fall, and this thing only moves a couple of inches. And I know not everyone realizes it, but you also, what's the likelihood that she would be okay hanging nude? Okay, there's still gonna be some sort of, when I'm found, I don't want to be found, because with the helicopters came, you guys, they were streaming her body laying there nude. So what would make you think if she was going to kill herself, she would do it in such a way that would leave her exposed like that? But tell me about that cryptic writing on the wall, because I want to know what you guys think about that. He saved her. Wait, what did she saved him. Can you save her? What the hell is that about?
Well, and can I add, I don't want to like gross anybody out, but I know that officially the autopsy said that there was no sexual assault. However, that's not entirely true. The blood that was on the handle of the steak knife was proven to be menstrual blood. And so it's not that she was bleeding as a result of an injury. She was already doing that naturally. In the shower where she normally showered, there was droplets of blood, which they also proved to be from that as well. And there were also just sporadically a couple of drops of blood in the hallway right outside the guest bedroom and in the room. So one of the investigators that was doing this from a completely, not for the family, not for the sheriff's side, just as an independent investigator, they were kind of, going off of, different theories and bouncing ideas off. And one of the things he said, he's like, well, maybe if she did have something where she felt so much shame, she would, commit suicide in the nude. But what doesn't make sense is a girl said, no, think about it. You're a woman. You're not going to take a shower when you have your cycle, then walk around all the house, get all these supplies together for this elaborate suicide without getting dressed, she's not going to actively just walk throughout with, her cycle going on. And there's zero reason, obviously, that her cycle would have ended up on the handle of that knife. Zero reason.
There's no reason. And if any guy likes to screw around and say, oh, you're bleeding, that blood could get anywhere, I'm sorry, but I'm 30. I'm about to be 31 years old next week, and I never had my menstrual blood happen to get on a wall or a fucking handled knife. It just doesn't happen. And that's sometimes what guys will do. They'll imagine this crazy elaborate thing, but that's not how it works.
Yeah. And so even if you were to take everything else out of the picture, as a woman, you just wouldn't do that. You're not going to get, you're not going to walk throughout the house naked when you're going through your cycle. And one of the things that's important to note, I think, when you were talking about things with the door and the sign, and since we're going to get to that with, the painted message, it was on the door. And so the part from the door handle to the door, where usually you have the most handprints because everybody's kind of touching there, that entire area of the door wasn't just void of Adam Shackney's prints. It was void of any prints. It was completely wiped down. If she was going into that room on her own, there would have been prints.
Well, and
Absolutely.
that's another thing that her family found interesting is the lack of DNA, not only on like the door handle, but everywhere throughout the entire, the guest room. The knife that he claimed that he used to cut her down with, it didn't have his handprints or anything on it. The knife that was one of the knives that were in her room, they found 2 sets of DNA. They found hers and someone else's, but there wasn't enough to be able to compare to find, like, it was just partial prints.
Right.
So they couldn't tell whose it was.
Which, come on, if she's like in one argument, you're saying she's walking around the house and she's getting all this stuff to make this elaborate plan, and she's tying this rope around this bed frame, and she's leaving cryptic freaking notes on the wall, yet none of her fingerprints, right? No DNA is there. What
Right.
sense is every time you make an argument, there's something that contradicts it?
Exactly.
But what do you guys think about the note? Because that's the part that gets me. As if the position and the way her body was found wasn't odd enough, the note is what gets me. Because she's not talking in first person if she did write that note.
Well, I'm going to refrain from saying too much right now because I kind of have my own theories about what really happened. But I will say this: what you said about the where the note was placed on the door, yes, it was way higher. She was only 5'2". He was, I believe, 6 foot, if I remember, somewhere about there. And you can just look at it on the door and see that it was definitely higher up than what would be easy for her to do. There's also no reason, think about it. If you were overcome with grief and you are like, I'm just going to take my life because this is my fault, I wasn't watching him. Even if you went through every single moment of grief and torture she may put herself through, if she was going to commit suicide to try to, in her own way, make amends for what happened, why would she leave a cryptic note which would leave everybody in turmoil?
Yep, exactly. And I think that in the moment, if someone was to kill someone and you wanted to leave this cryptic note for whatever reason, you wouldn't even think twice about the height you'd put it at. Like, at least I wouldn't. I'd have so much adrenaline and so much other things going on my mind. For whatever reason that you're going to write that note, I would just, if I was going to, you would just write it. In that moment, you're not thinking, oh my God, this person is this amount of, inches lower than me, so I need to write at this. So I think that's dead, like a really big sign. Okay, Rose Gold, please be safe. Love you. If blood had pooled in her back, she had to have been dead and laying on her back for a period of time before being put over the balcony. Absolutely.
Yep.
What about the pooling in her back?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
The pooling in her back.
Oh, yeah. Well, I don't want to like Trenda, you talk. I feel like
I firmly 100% believe that it was a staged murder. I believe that he suffocated her. She was laid on her back, and he, however, I can't remember the exact amount of time you said was in between her death and the phone call, like 3 hours.
Yeah, so
about that, yeah.
Phone records show that hold on. I have so many notes.
That's how I feel.
I have so many notes, I don't even know where to go. Okay. So, the time of death was estimated to be around 3 a.m., which is 4 hours before she was found. She was on the phone with her sister at 9:50 p.m. 1 hour later, so 10:50, Nina texted Rebecca, but Rebecca didn't respond. But 2 hours later, she did listen to a voice message and delete it, which would be 1:50 a.m., which is an hour before her alleged death.
Well, and see, and that can be kind of explained the way who can prove that she was the one that actually heard it and deleted it.
Exactly.
You know.
Yep.
I mean, they were the only two in the house, in the home.
Yep.
And
I also, sorry, trying to go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what I also found interesting is that if Jonah just flew in and your nephew is in critical condition and you fly all the way in to be there for your family, why would you take a sleeping pill at 8 p.m.? I don't know about any of you guys, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I would want to be alert because at that point he's in critical condition and you may be getting a call at any moment. So I found it strange that he took a sleeping pill at 8 p.m. and just fell asleep until 6:48 a.m. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought that was odd.
Oh, it's very odd. Especially, considering his nephew was in the hospital in critical condition, I certainly wouldn't want to, take a sleeping pill and possibly sleep through an important phone call where I needed to be there for my family, like you just stated.
Oh, thank you, M. Fisher.
Well, and one other thing that, so he also claims that he gave her CPR. There was none of his DNA was found on her body.
Correct.
So he gave her CPR, yet none of his DNA was on her.
They couldn't even find any skin, any DNA anywhere on the rope. If you have a rope that you're trying to cut her down from, and he claims he stood on that table.
That table.
In order to, if she's hanging there, the rope is at a full tension. So you have to grab that rope and you're trying to cut it as the rope is it's starting to fray as every, piece of it starts to get cut as more weight is being pulled down. So his skin he would have had some skin alleles kept on that rope. It would have showed up. It just doesn't make sense that it wouldn't.
Well, okay. Is it possible he wore gloves?
But why would he? If you're waking up, I don't disagree that that's a possibility, but if you're getting up at 6:45 in the morning to go to the main house to make coffee or have breakfast or to check on your nephew, why would you be wearing gloves? It's July in Southern California.
Well, I'm talking about, say he was found guilty and was found to be responsible for her murder. Let's say the reason why his DNA or nothing was found on her, on the rope, throughout the room, anywhere, was because he wore gloves.
Well, so I don't know if you were leading into this and I'm interrupting you. So if I am, I apologize.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So there was one loose glove found, and I don't remember where it was. You guys might have to remind me if you know. And then there was a second pair of gloves in the living room of that main house on the first floor. But supposedly none of those gloves had any DNA on it. The two in the living room were considered to be gardening gloves, and I don't remember what the single one on the second floor, what type of glove it was. But I know that there was only one found, but they claimed they weren't able to get DNA from either one. So I wasn't sure if that's where you were going, Trenda, or not, but I found it interesting that you have a glove sitting out. Who, I don't know. I'll shut up.
No, you're good. That's exactly what Amber said. Yeah, maybe he wore gloves because he is guilty. A neighbor, a neighbor claimed that about 11:30 p.m. she heard a female scream, "Help me," 3 times.
At what time?
At 11:30 p.m.
That would have been when they first got home.
But here's the thing with that one too.
Well, actually, no, not when they first got home. Sorry, go on.
She also reported seeing five or six teenagers walking outside her house that night. So police pretty much concluded that they could not definitively say that it came from Rebecca or if it came from one of the teenagers just messing around.
Right.
So that was another thing I found interesting.
Well, jeez. This is when I go back to the beginning of the timeline and I think back to the 911 audio of when Max first fell. And Xena called 911. And at the end of that call, Rebecca could be heard saying, and this is documented on a 911 call, "Don't open that door." As in, don't let the paramedics in. And when they did get in, Rebecca was saying that Max kept saying Ocean over and over again. Again, Ocean is Rebecca's dog. But that contradicted itself because the paramedics claimed that Max was unresponsive and not breathing due to a spinal injury he suffered, so he wasn't able to talk. So if this was a murder, what can account for that type of behavior?
No.
Yeah, that's a good question.
That's my question. Someone answer it. No, I'm kidding. And that's what I meant. Like I'm all for this was not a suicide, but this is when I go back to this Max part, and I don't understand.
Well, there was also one of the deputies that appeared at the. There was one deputy who was one of the first on scene when they got there from when Max had his accident. He was also one of the first deputies on scene when Rebecca was found. He claimed that when he got there, when Max was over the banister or over the, foyer, he claimed that when he came in, Rebecca was distraught. She had her hands in her face and she was crying inconsolably, and she couldn't be like he could barely get anything out of her. The only issue, I mean, that makes sense, right? But the only problem with that is her statement, and some of the other people at the scene, even some of the medics, said that she was actually aiding in CPR, but this other deputy swears that she wasn't touching him. So it's not anything big, but it may lend to what we're going to get to a little bit more with the problems with the investigation in the sheriff's department. I just found it interesting because I don't think the deputy has anything, any reason to lie, but he 100% swears that she was inconsolable and there's no way she would have been able to administer CPR.
This is just so strange. And even going, and the Zahau lawyer did say, in order to find out what happened to Rebecca, we need to find out what happened to Max. And I do believe that because Max alone, his center of gravity should have not gone over that railing. He shouldn't have. And his hands did not have any cuts that would have implied that he grabbed onto that chandelier. And then what happened? And it seemed as though he was suffocated before. Well, what does that mean?
I got nothing.
And that's why this case is such a mind bender. Like, It just doesn't make sense.
I mean, it never sat well with me, the center of gravity, because of the obvious reasons. But the other part that never sat right with me is the person that was closest to Max at the time of the injury was her sister. And when she heard, Rebecca claims that when she heard the crash, she came running down the hall, and she originally claimed her sister was looking over the railing first. So I can't help but wonder why did her sister have to leave town so suddenly? Why,
Right.
where was she exactly when this happened? And what really did happen? None of that, none of the part with the sister ever sat right with me. And I don't have any facts to base that off of, but it's just, you know.
Well, we don't have any facts to base anything off of, but it doesn't make sense. None of it makes sense. And the fact that they brought Adam to a civil trial, the Zahau family, and they originally won. And then they dismissed the case with prejudice to where you can never even charge Adam again. That tells me money. Money, money, money. And that family had a lot of money. And so is this some type of cover up? But even so, it's not black and white to where you could even see what the cover up is. Oh, thank Muck Boys. Do you both think, let's start with Max. Do you both believe Max was a tragic accident or there was some type of foul play?
Oh.
I I do think that it was an accident, but I don't necessarily believe that it happened the way they say it happened. I don't believe he was riding. Yes, was he known to ride his scooter upstairs and he was constantly told not to? He was a kid. He didn't listen. Yeah. So I don't doubt that he may have been doing that. But I don't think that's how he went over. So I do think it was an accident. I don't think any malicious intent was involved. But I have a weird theory that is really weird and out there, but
I want to hear it.
We love weird here.
Yeah,
well,
thank you, Trenda. Yes, we do.
Explains why you guys know me.
Yes, give it to us.
The other sister that was there visiting was she was younger. She was a little bit more on the, I'm going for a fun vacation, going to hang out with my sister at the beach. I don't know anything about her to base this on, so this is complete conjecture on my part, but I feel as though could she have been in an effort to get Max to stop riding his scooter because he was messing around? Could her and him have been messing around or doing something? Could she have been, giving a piggyback ride up and down the hallway and he fell over that banister that way? Could, any number of types of roughhousing type games running up and down? I just feel like something like that may have been more probable than him. There was damage, like on his scooter, there was white paint transfer on this scooter, but that would be really easy to kind of stage, I think, in a split
Is that
second.
from the banister?
Yeah.
Okay. But for him to even flip over for that damn scooter to even go over with him is unlikely.
Exactly. So that's the only reason I have the theory that I do, is because that to me makes more sense than him suddenly growing. I mean, he would have had to have, had a Michael Jordan moment and decided to jump up in the air as he approached the banister, took his scooter with him. I mean, I just don't.
Well, you guys have to understand also that banister was made for an adult. Banisters are made tall enough to where they are above our center of gravity, meaning if we just lean over, we're not going to flip. So it was safe enough for an adult, let alone a kid, a child, a 6-year-old boy.
Yeah.
What do you think, Trenda? Do you think in regards to Max, do you think tragic accident or foul play?
I'm honestly really leaning towards tragic accident.
Okay.
Just based off of my children. Especially boys, and I'm sure any moms of boys can attest to this. My youngest son, he's very hyper. He loves climbing on things. He loves jumping, just being a typical young boy. Is it possible that the sister, to kind of feed off of what Nicole was saying, is it, possible they made some sort, just one moment.
And exactly, Susie, how would the chandelier come down? And if you guys remember the exhibit I showed you in the beginning, their best theory is he flipped over, hung from the chandelier, and hit even the first story stairs going up, like hit that railing, like ding 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 down to the floor.
Okay,
but if he hung, go ahead, Trenda.
I'm just gonna pull that diagram back up real quick.
Sure.
So
Thank you.
Okay. So let's say, just, for argument's sake, let's say he, being a young boy, put his scooter up against the banister. Was, trying to climb up a little bit. What if he, like somebody said, or like Nicole said, was like trying to climb up on his scooter. He got so far, lost his balance, and then, flipped over.
Yeah. I could play it. I could listen, we all have, anyone who has kids knows that it's things that don't seem possible can be possible. Accidents happen. But when you put it together with Rebecca, it seems so unlikely. And to the fact that they said that it appears like he was suffocated, where did they get that from?
Yeah, that's a good question all on its own. I don't think it's... See, this is where it gets really hard. You can come up with all these different, scenarios and theories, but to make it all kind of, all the little pieces fit together, that's where it gets really hard. Because I don't know if we're going to be able to make all the little pieces fit to make it make sense.
Exactly. I mean, it's a jigsaw puzzle, and we're missing, two of the middle pieces. I don't know why the suffocation theory to me has never held as much weight, because there was only one expert that believed that was the case. I feel like if we are to believe every theory about Max's death, then we would have to believe it all about Rebecca's death. And we all know we can't do that. We know that not every theory works. Not every theory matches. So I don't know. I never really held a lot of weight into the Max suffocation theory, because there was so much brain damage, and the paramedic said he had stopped breathing for some time. So I'm in no way in the medical field, so I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. That just never held as much weight with me.
Yeah. And okay, so wait. Her sister was 13 years old?
She was young. I didn't remember how young. I just knew she was
Okay, I
young.
didn't realize that her sister Zena, who was there visiting, was
Mhm.
13 years old.
Yeah, I
Now
knew.
my option for something roughhousing, something happening with Zena is open.
Yeah. Shauna K in chat. Actually, that's a good question. Some people think that Jonah did have enemies. At the time of this incident, his company was.
Good night, Amber.
Night, Amber. His company was actually in the process of a potential buyout, which would have netted him billions of dollars. He didn't want any bad press when this happened, which we can get into a little bit later. But yes, some people in Coronado do actually think, and in the Scottsdale, Arizona area, believe that he does have enemies. So, yeah.
What do you think about Max's mother? Okay, so let's move on to Rebecca. Even though Max's mother and her sister have an alibi, do you think that they could have colluded with Adam to the point where he agreed to take revenge or hold Rebecca responsible?
Well, Trenda, do you want to go first?
Trenda!
Sorry, I'm.
No worries.
I've got all my kids running around. Could you repeat
It's
that?
okay.
I sincerely apologize.
No worries.
No, don't apologize. We said that. What do you think in regards to Max's mother? Because Max's mother and her sister were originally charged in the civil case with Adam, but their alibis cleared. Do you think that Max's mother had possibly was colluding with Adam and had Adam take out his revenge on Rebecca for what happened to Max?
That's.
Hard to say, yeah.
I think it's possible. I mean, it. As far as all of it goes, especially Rebecca's. I don't want to say murder, but Rebecca's death. To me, it definitely sounds kind of like a revenge killing. I don't believe it was suicide at all. And
Right.
to be honest, it would not surprise me if Max's mom and, her, sister were involved. And Adam kind of covered for it. Well, no, okay, not necessarily covered, but went to lengths to make sure that nothing came back on really any of them.
Right.
There's just so many puzzles to this missing. It's really hard to form an opinion on that.
So, Ian, I'm sorry, Trenda, were you done? I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
You are good.
Okay. So exploring that theory, there is a reason that Max's mom, Jonah's ex-wife, was actually named in that civil suit originally. There was a witness on Ocean Boulevard the evening when, around the time that Adam was supposed to be taking a sleeping pill.
Right.
There was a witness that said a woman matching Dina's description was at the front door, looking impatient and ringing the bell and knocking and trying to get somebody to answer. Interviews were done by the sheriff's department, and it was found that she was actually gone from her son's room and stepped out of the hospital for a couple hours that evening.
Yes.
And what happened was after the civil suit was brought, then they suddenly said, oh, the footage we have of her leaving the hospital and coming back a couple hours later, we had the wrong time stamp on that. It was just the wrong time format. So yeah, she has an alibi, but she didn't until the civil suit was brought on. And that's only when the sheriff's department changed that narrative that Rebecca's family pulled her from the civil suit, because they wanted to be able to at least hold someone accountable, and that being Adam, who didn't really have an alibi. That's the only reason they pulled her. Her family has staunchly said they believe that she was there and she played a role. Now, what I've always thought was weird is that Rebecca was talking to her older sister back home in Missouri about what happened. Even though she said she was sounding okay, she still was talking to her about what happened, and she was sharing and being open, and she wasn't closed off. So she was communicating. So she talked to her sister. Dina leaves the hospital. Witness sees someone matching Dina's description at the front door. Then there's like an hour of we don't know what Rebecca was doing. And then there's a phone call that Jonah places to Rebecca, leaves a voice message, and nothing. If she were to get that voice message and think that Max wasn't going to make it, Max was going to die,
Right.
wouldn't she be so distraught that she'd reach out to her sister or call Jonah back? She loved this man. So I believe, and I know I'm jumping the gun here, but I'm just going to throw this out there because I can't help myself. I believe that Dina showed up. She wanted answers. She wanted to know what happened to her son. She has a reputation in Coronado as being a take no prisoner type of gal. So she, I believe, was angry. I think something happened. And I think she railroaded or whatever forced Adam to be part of this whole elaborate thing. And he set the rest of it up, and then she went back to the hospital. That's what I think happened.
And that's the one I was leaning more towards. And what I wish is we were able to have a little bit more insight of Adam and Dina's relationship. Because obviously Jonah and Dina are exes. And usually when you're exes, you don't always have the most healthy relationship. So I'm wondering, well, did they have a great co-parenting relationship to where she was still close to Adam, where Adam would do this for her?
People say that they actually were good co-parents, and that she actually had a history of intimidating people, especially Adam. People that knew Adam said that he is very easily manipulated, and even though he stood his ground in the civil case and he did okay in the lie detector and this and that, but she's thought of in a certain way. So having her manipulate or railroad him into doing this, it wouldn't be a far stretch, in my opinion.
Right. It's just so interesting. Like, I just wish I knew an answer. I wish I knew what the answer is, and I don't. Oh. So I think we could all agree that Rebecca... Oh, I don't know. Do we know why Rebecca was staying in a guest room?
No, I don't believe that. I don't believe she was. That was a theory that the deputies the sheriff's department came up with because of where she was found. She wouldn't normally stay in that room.
So then why did she choose that room?
Well, so I don't know. I don't know why that room would be chosen at all. Um, it was close to the room where she did her art. She was an artist, and I don't think we went over this, but the paint that was used, the paint bottle that was used, to paint the message, that was also wiped down, and the only one print on it was just on the cap of the paint. It was like one of those acrylic bottles, and just her thumb was on the cap, and all other prints once again were wiped. Nothing else was on it. Like, not a stock boy from the art supply store, nothing. So they the family and the attorney for the family and the experts that they pulled up thought perhaps that room was chosen merely as convenience. It had the balcony, not all the rooms did, and it was close to the room where she did her artwork, where her art studio essentially. So they thought it was just simply a matter of convenience.
I don't know. There's so many things. There's so many things that point me, and it's not possible, especially the fact that the bed frame didn't move.
Well, yeah, I think they said it moved a total of, because you could see in the crime scene photos the distance from, the impression in the carpet where the leg of the bed was. I think it moved like 7 inches. And when they retested it, they, tested it several times for the civil case. And
Yep.
they got figures 17 inches, 20 inches. Like, they
They
could
said a
not.
few feet it would move.
Right. They could not get it below. I think the lowest they got it was like 16 inches once. And that was after they redistributed the weight of the dummy they were using, which they didn't even think to be a true depiction of what would happen, because she was a thin 5'2" petite girl. She was only 100 pounds.
Yep.
So they thought the couple feet minimum that the bed would have moved would have been much more probable.
Yeah. Well, and the fact that she would have had to put these around her, she would have had to bound herself, her feet first, then her mouth, then she would have had to do these intricate knots. And you guys, she would have had to slide. Hi, what are your melons? She would have had to slide her hands in through her back and tighten it. So not only would she have been able to do those knots, but she would have had to prep the knots, then put her hands behind her back, slide her hands through, tighten it, hobble, and jump over butt ass naked and flip yourself over this balcony. Does that seem logical?
Not in my mind, no. Definitely not.
If you guys could choose one out of all this weird crap, if you guys could choose one piece of the most damning evidence that says it was not a suicide, what piece of evidence would you choose?
For me, it would be the lack of evidence. It's the removal of, entire areas of fingerprints wiped away. Complete lack of DNA on rope fibers. Places that you're going to have naturally occurring fingerprints, handprints, skin alleles, things like that. The complete lack of those things, to me, is the most telling.
Absolutely. What about you, Trenda?
I would definitely have to agree. The lack of evidence definitely screams just something definitely happened. I mean, just, a lot of the evidence that pointed towards murder rather than suicide, that alone is very damning, I feel.
Right.
I mean, I guess if you I guess if you look at it, objectively, there would be, there would be motive on both ends, whether it be suicide or murder. Suicide, the feeling of, even if she wasn't involved, there was no, foul play with Max, and she was honestly just using the restroom. If she, loved Jonah as much as it's stated and loved Max, any mother or, any person in that role would feel a lot of guilt. Like it was their fault. But there's also a lot of motive towards, the murder theory, whether it be revenge killing. Say the mother did show up and want to have answers to what happened to her son. There's just so many different ways you could go with this. So many.
Yep.
But just the evidence pointing, the lack of evidence pointing towards suicide is really a hard one to swallow. Because I've been sitting here racking my brain trying to figure out how the investigators came to that conclusion.
And Water Your Melons made a great point. Her hair was under the rope and or shirt. Well, she wasn't wearing a shirt, but most girls would fix that. And that is true because it is almost muscle memory and it's unconscious for me. When I put on a shirt or if I do anything, my first instinct is to take my hands and flip my hair out of it.
Oh, another thing that was not brought up. Let me find it. It's in my notes.
Okie dokie.
So regarding the paint, not only was it found all over her body, so it was found on her right hand, her left breast, her right nipple, right upper chest, and right upper index finger and neck. The paint was also found on the rope, but not on the gag, suggesting that it was already in place. So
Say that one more time. Say that one more time.
The paint was found on the rope, but not on the gag that was used.
Oh.
So why would she stuff a shirt in her own mouth and then write the message, put paint all over herself, and then decide to put the rope around her neck?
Oh, wow.
So that's another thing to look at. It's just the little details,
Right.
Oh my goodness.
That's good catch too.
Yeah, very good catch. I think the most damning part of it is the condition her body was found in. Like, how do we know she was ever hanging at all? How do
Right.
we know that there wasn't some type of foul play? We know that the blood pooling was on her back and she basically wasn't lowered down and he made the cut himself. Basically, she was never really hanging. He just lowered her down and did the process. Like, I don't know. Like, we don't know anything for certain.
Well, and I don't know. I really don't remember. Trenda, can you pull up the picture of the table that he supposedly stood on to cut her down? Because I don't know if we mentioned this or not, but it was one of the legs had come out of, like, it wasn't attached. It was just laying there.
It would be before it, Chanda. It would be the balcony photo. Yeah,
Okay.
that photo.
So if you were to stand on that table, what do you think's going to happen?
Collapse. Especially the spot. Do you see the two back legs are in the, like, the part where the bricks meet the lawn? We always know that's a wobble because it offsets.
Right. So
but
I
he
think
apparently stood on that to cut her down.
Right. So what you were saying about the, maybe he did just lower her down and we don't know she was hanging.
And she's kind of in that position. If I had to imagine lowering someone down, their feet would touch first and their legs would kind of go to the side and their body would slap.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, look at her legs. Look at them bound like that. And if she was hanging up there for 4 hours, the way that the autopsy claims she was dead for 4 hours before she was found. I'm sorry, but if you zoom up to her legs, you would see blood pooling in the bottom of her legs. You would see dark purple.
Yep. You're
Well,
right.
and another small detail that I haven't heard mentioned is she also had tape residue and blood on her legs, which the blood can be from, say she wasn't assaulted. They can come back and say, well, she had blood on her legs from her menstrual cycle. Well, what about the tape residue? If she didn't have tape on her legs, where did the residue come from? And why would she have tape up there to begin with?
And I can't get over the menstrual blood being on all 4 sides of that handle of the steak knife, not just, because initially the sheriff's department wanted to write it off as though, she had some on her hand and she touched the knife. But no, it was completely encasing the entire surface of that handle. So all the way around, it wasn't just like it was on one side, 2 sides, 3 sides. It was completely around her menstrual blood. How does that happen?
Well, especially if you're just cutting her down, why the fuck is her menstrual blood anywhere on that rope? Yet they can't find any DNA anywhere. Yet, where did that blood come from?
Well, no, the knife that he cut her down front with was a serrated knife from the kitchen. There was 2 other knives that were in the guest bedroom. One was the steak knife that had her menstrual blood on the handle, and then the other one was a larger butcher knife that they tried to claim that was the one she used to cut the rope. Once she had tied her hands, that she used to help cut it while her hands were tied. So, I mean, it just, I have no words for how crazy it sounds. And
So
yes,
while she's bound like that, she cut the rope herself while she's bound.
That was what the sheriff's department tried to prove in their reenactment, but like with the picture trying to put up, it clearly shows the sheriff's department reenactment. It's not even the same knot.
Nope.
So Shauna asked that what was that him on the 911 call? Yes, it was. That was him on the 911 call.
And I'm sorry, but when she asks, and is she alive? And
Yes.
he's saying, I don't know. The reality of the fact is, and not to be too morbid, but if she was hanging there for 4 hours, you would know she wasn't alive.
Right.
There would
exactly.
be no blood in her face. She would be white. She would be rigor at that point.
And
She
Shauna's
could be rigor.
Shauna's second comment is exactly why I think the mom is involved. Max's mom, rather.
Right. And Jonah was the one who made the comment about how strong Asian, belief she had, and how, this is what she thought. She couldn't take it. Then what would make you think that she would be okay to be fully nude, open for everyone to see? Again, you guys, this was a huge mansion. It was a very populated area. Everyone had full view. She was hanging there, bound, gagged, nude. What would make you think she would do that? She would not humiliate herself like that. All the girls who are in here, could we imagine humiliating ourselves like that, even if we were to the point we were suicidal? I do not think so.
No, and it's also very uncommon in women's suicides. We do not do that. We women generally make sure that they're respectful so the family doesn't feel any shame. And that's actually something that her family said, that she would never shame her family by letting herself be seen like that. That actually went away from what their beliefs were. When Jonah was initially questioned after she was found, he said that statement that you played the clip of where, you know, he talks about, oh, well, you know, her family believes things and this and that. But then when they told Jonah, I think it was just 2 days after, I think, because I thought it was so strange. And if his son had just died and his girlfriend had just died, and they asked him if what they thought, what his impression is, do you think anybody could have done this to hurt her? Do you think that there could be foul play? Do you think it couldn't be a suicide? And he, without, like, because I've heard the clip several times, he said with very little emotion that, oh, well, she has an ex-husband who was kind of controlling. So if you think that there's any foul play, yeah, look into the ex-husband. Like, literally just rolled it off the tongue like that. And I didn't hear any emotion in his voice.
Right.
And I find it very strange.
I do too. And
And
Shauna
the
says,
ex-husband, by the way, was like proven to be in another state at the time it happened.
yes.
Well, and that
And
kind of, oh, sorry.
No, you're good, Shonda. Go ahead.
But that kind of brings up the question, what was the family dynamic like between
Yes.
Adam, Jonah, you know, with them being brothers? With, you know, you brought up, that raised, you know, in my opinion, a really good question. If Jonah was at the hospital with Max, let's say even though he made the comment that he didn't feel that she was involved in any way, shape, or form, do you guys think that it's possible that he was just saving face in that sense, and the mother could have put something in his head, or, you know, if she had the reputation of being not necessarily aggressive, but being known to get her way. Let's say she put the idea in Jonah's head that Rebecca was involved with the accident. Do you think it's possible that he could have mentioned that to Adam, and Adam decided to take matters into his own hands to I guess,
right, planting the seed.
Yeah. Like, do you think that's
like
possible?
Put it this way, if that was my kid, and I'm not saying it's the right reaction, but I would be out for blood. That's the truth. I would be out for blood, and I'd want to know what the hell happened, especially if it was my ex's young, you know, like, new girlfriend. I'd be demanding answers. And Shauna, the answer is, yeah, they did try to reopen the investigation, but the Coronado Police Department refused to reopen the investigation and said, was Max's death a homicide? The answer is no. It was a tragic accident. But I really believe, and you guys can watch, the Zahau family and their high-profile lawyer did go on Dr. Phil, and it was a really good, I really enjoyed it, because, again, they go through the reenactment of what Rebecca would have had to do. And it, just like what Shauna was saying, if her hands were tied, how did she tie the rope around her neck? Well, apparently she tied the rope around her neck first, bound her feet, gagged herself, then tied the knot behind her freaking arms, and she's not even experienced in tying those type of intricate knots. But Adam was a tugboat. What is he? A tugboat what?
Captain.
Tugboat
and a captain
captain
is the highest you can get. So he'd been doing it, I want to say, they said, for like over 20 years. He'd been in boats.
Yeah. So he was familiar with these nautical knots. And geez, it's just, I would watch the Dr. Phil because they also go through Max, you know, they go through what would have happened. And what bothers me the most is how they won the civil suit. They won the civil suit for $5 million and like 270,000 or 170,000, one or the other. And then all of a sudden it gets dismissed with prejudice, never got to be reopened again. Why? It was 9-3. Why all of a sudden did it get dismissed? The only thing I can think of is money, and they had a lot of money.
They not only had a lot of money, I mean, like I said, with his business, he had a lot to protect. She was well connected in the community. But the community as a whole had a lot to protect. We're talking about one of the most expensive zip codes in the western part of the United States, if not all of the United States. And not only was it in old money territory, like I said, it was Sparkle's mansion, but Coronado is a very expensive, vacation type resort area where people go to, and having two types of homicides or not homicides, whether we want to call them accidents or what, or negligent manslaughter, you don't want that in your community. It's bad press. There have been numerous people with the sheriff's department that were deputies or investigators at the time that have come forward to say, if you were to do like a blind vote and ask people without having to put their names on record, should Rebecca's case be reopened, that 50%, if not more, of the sheriff's department would say it has to be reopened.
Wow. Yeah, it's just bizarre. It's bizarre. And what is unfortunate is if Max was a tragic accident, Rebecca's wouldn't be. And again, the cryptic note, why would she not write? She would write in third person, or is it second person? I don't know what the difference is, but she would refer to herself as her. Why? If anything, if she really was going towards suicide, I would think that she would write a letter of feeling guilt and apologizing and saying that was never her intentions and she's so sorry. Not, she saved him, can you save her? What the fuck does that even mean?
Exactly. I mean, and somebody said in the chat earlier, if anything, I would have written, if you felt the need to write on the wall, which why would you? But if you felt the need to write on the wall, you would say, I'm sorry. Like
Right.
if you're at that much grief, you would say you're sorry.
The way I look at, sorry,
go ahead. No, you go.
I was just going to say, the way I look at this is someone going above and beyond, going too far trying to cover it up. Like someone who went way too far and did way over the top to make it seem one way, which less is more, if you were in this situation.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's the problem. And that's why I feel as though you have, I don't know why, and this isn't meant to be rude, but when I look at Adam, his brother, he seems much simpler of a man than his brother. And there's two types of people. One that, that type of person over there, that person.
Did you cut out? Nicole. Can anyone else hear Nicole, or is it just me?
No, I can't hear her either.
Oh no. If she was going to kill herself, if you were going to stage a murder, wouldn't you do it from her actual bedroom? Yeah, well, here she is. Sorry,
I was getting a call and it just cut me right off, so I don't know where I was.
Oh crap, now I forgot, because crap. You were saying don't do this to me, I have ADD. Oh, just go back to what you were saying, because now I won't remember the last line you said.
So I always looked at the brother Adam as
Oh yeah.
being kind of simpler of a man. I mean, he was a tugboat captain. He wasn't a multi-billion-dollar plus, person in pharmaceuticals like his brother. So
Right.
I feel that you're going to have two types of people. One is you can look at a person and say, oh yeah, they're diabolical. I can totally see them murdering somebody and getting away with it. And then you're going to have the other person, which they're not that type of person. They don't have the mindset to get away with a crime. I think that if he was to be a part of this, I can't help but wonder if he tried so hard to make it look like suicide that he added so many elements that it didn't make sense, and that's why we're here.
Right. Overkill.
Yeah.
What I would love to do is I'd love to maybe do a part 2 where we could pull up straight theories, because I know Reddit has a rabbit hole, and Trenda loves her Reddit, where we could pull up theories and start to go through them, because there are theories that I wouldn't normally think of until you hit Reddit. And they're really good with, like, as crazy as Reddit is, they're really good with people who are diehard into these cases, and they pick up little clues along the way, and they could create an entire timeline with an entire theory. And I'd love to get into them with you girls.
Oh, I'd love that. You're right. I do love my Reddit, and I actually have not looked to see what's on there about this case.
Me neither.
I would definitely be interested on coming back up here with you and going over some things.
Yeah,
that would
and
be
like
amazing.
What's that?
I said that would be amazing.
Yeah, and like Mel just reiterated, they still haven't set that new date for the January, revisiting of getting them to release the entire investigative files. So maybe after, I mean, because there's things we don't know, the family doesn't know.
Right.
So
what are they hiding?
Exactly. And, and the judge has said, and it sounds like Mel was looking it up, so she may know the date. I want to say it was just late November, where the judge said you have like a week, or I think maybe it was 10 days, that you have to get this information to the family or the counsel of the family. And they, whoever the attorneys are for the sheriff's department said that the information that hasn't been released is not relevant to the investigation. How is that possible?
How? And
exactly.
If it isn't relevant, then release it. What does it matter?
Right, exactly.
Oh, I would love that, CDC dogs. Yeah, maybe we could all. Aw, thank you, 426 Hemi. That's extremely kind of you. But maybe we could all kind of go on our own rabbit hole, and let's try to find the most plausible theories. And then I want to also compare it to the most outrageous theories, because I love an outrageous theory. And then come back on and compare, because I would love to do that now that everybody's gotten like a little bit of an idea, basis of the case. And I suggest everyone to watch the Dr. Phil, like, I know, send her to the ranch, right? But Dr. Phil, like, he did good. I think it was just nice to hear from the family. It was nice to see their play-by-play of how it happened, because it also makes you realize how ridiculous it is. It's so ridiculous when you actually watch this person reenact what Rebecca had to do. And again, I'm a visual learner, so hearing about it or reading it or me telling you is one thing, but when you physically see what she had to do, what they're claiming she did to commit suicide, you're going to be like, oh, hell no.
And yeah, I mean, I would love to, because I didn't even know that they were on Dr. Phil, but I generally don't watch him anyway. So,
but
I would love
I'll send you a link.
Yeah, I would love to go back and see that, because there's probably, I didn't do a refresher on this, so I'm sure there's tons of stuff that I've forgotten about, or I don't know, or
Yeah, definitely. The first time when it's like an intricate case like this, just like the Silent Twins, I try to come on for the first episode, give a basis for people who, as if they never even heard about the case, where it's like kind of like a timeline. And then for the second episode, I like to go in, and that's when we spitball, and that's when we try to throw around theories and just not so having to follow the timeline. You know what I mean? But I've never looked on Reddit for this case, and I'm sure it goes deep. I'm sure it does.
Well,
Yeah.
I've actually found one Reddit
Ooh.
like group. This is actually a good one that kind of goes along with your question about the message that was left on the door. It says, something I haven't seen discussed anywhere. Rebecca wrote long texts about her feelings. She was close to her family. She frequently expressed her emotions in writing. There is evidence of that. Isn't it highly inconsistent with the victim's profile to not write a full suicide note and explanation?
That's a very good point.
Yep, exactly. And again, they compared Adam's handwriting to the handwriting analysis of the wall, and his A is identical. He would write in uppercase, like sharp A's, and it matches his handwriting. And something Trenda said before, again, there was no paint on the gag, though. Well, how? If you're touching all those things, you're bound to... I can't even like put on my makeup without getting a smudge over here, even after I washed my hands. That's the truth. Let alone dealing with black paint that you're writing on the wall. I would even expect to see splatter or drips.
Here's a question that just came up. Was there paint? Well, actually, I guess I could go back to my notes for this. Sorry, one moment.
Nicole will know.
Okay, so it says this is where it claims that all the paint was found. It was found on her right hand, her left breast, her right nipple, her right upper chest, and right upper index finger and neck.
Yes.
I mean, but I would still expect to see it on her feet area.
For me, though, the entire the way it's so sporadically placed on her tells me that it could have been a result of a struggle more than someone painting a message on a wall.
Or if she was even already deceased and he painted on that wall and he was just trying to plot it on her, put some of the paint on her, and then maneuvering the body down would have left residual paint.
Or even, because like another thing I didn't think of until you just said that, is he says that he took that sleeping pill, went to sleep. There was a 10-hour period that's unaccounted for because of the time he says he took it to the time he says he got up. And was anything in his room checked out? Did they check his shower or his clothing for blood, for paint, for, I hate to say it, but her menstrual blood? Like, could there have been any cleanup that took place in that guest house? Because it was a completely separate unit. It wasn't attached to the house.
There shouldn't be anything in that guest house. And the fact that there was even blood or anything at all is a problem. That guest house was completely separate. And if Adam walked to the mansion and found Rebecca along the way, there should be nothing in that guest house. Nothing. Yeah. I don't see any blood over her. Granted, it's blurred, but you're telling me that there was enough blood to where we wouldn't even... Hey, Akasha. Yeah, you're really late. But there's not any blood or anything. How did it get back into the guest house? How?
I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact, and again, I don't mean to be gross, but if you're a woman and you're on your cycle, you're not going all around the house dropping blood you know, you're
No.
just not going to. You're going to. And I don't know why I'm acting like I'm a schoolgirl. And you would use a tampon. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
So it
And
doesn't make
the
sense
feeling,
to me.
comfortability wise, even if you got to the point where you didn't give a shit, we all know comfortability wise how uncomfortable it is if you are on your period and you're not
Mhm.
wearing anything.
Right. And there's, you know, and let's look at the simpler side of things. Could a person be so grief stricken or feel such guilt that they are driven to suicide? Yes, that's
Yes,
possible.
that's possible.
But she was a nurse, and she has more knowledge over what it would take to potentially do that.
And an easy suicide, meaning
Right. So
less of a
why would
struggle.
she choose the most difficult, the
Right.
most embarrassing and humiliating, not just for her, but for her family?
For her family with that strong Asian background.
Right. And she truly, like, when we talk about her, I don't know if we did talk about her journal entries, but she loved him on next level. Like, there were times where in her journal where she would talk about, am I going to wake up and he's not going to love me anymore? And these were just like simple journal writings that any woman, that when they're sharing their, you know, thoughts, this isn't about what happened to Max or anything. And could she have loved him so much that even if she was driven to that, would you really, if you were so grief stricken and you feel like the one man you loved the most, that you ruined his life because you took his child or whatever, if you think that, why would you then think, okay, well, I'm going to make sure I make this suicide as messy as possible in every way, not just, you know, physically as far as dirty and stuff, but I'm also going to make it difficult. So for years and years and years, there's turmoil going on around my death. She wouldn't have done that to him. I just don't believe she would have done it.
Nope. And Shauna, so they hold on, here I go again looking for the time. Okay, so
I agree, Susie.
It doesn't say what time they left for. Hold on. Oh wait, okay. No, it doesn't say a specific time. It just says Adam, Jonah, and Rebecca had dinner together on the evening of July 12th. Jonah then returned to the hospital while Adam and Rebecca went back to the mansion. Adam was staying in the guest house. Rebecca was staying alone in the mansion. And Adam had taken a sleeping pill at about 8 p.m. And again, we know that she was on the phone at 9:50 p.m. She got a text an hour later, didn't respond, but 2 hours later from that, which would be 12:50 p.m., she listened to a voice message and deleted it. But there's no telling that it was Rebecca who deleted it. I'd like to know, was her phone locked? Did it require a password?
And I know this was a long time ago, and so technology has changed, but another thing I found interesting is that the sheriff's department said that they were never able to I can't think of the word. They weren't able to recapture the deleted voicemail.
Oh, bullshit.
And so I always wondered, by them saying it the way they did, I wondered, okay, is that the truth because it was 2011, or did he not leave a voicemail? That was a question I always had, but I just always assumed maybe the technology was just not quite as what it is now. I don't know.
It's just, I feel like if she was going to do something, you know, like a lot of times when you look back on someone who committed suicide and you start to see, oh my God, I didn't even see these signs. Her sister, who had just spoken to her hours before, would have been like, oh, now I see something that she said that at the time I didn't realize.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I really, and I still, like I've said, I already have told you guys what I think happened, but I just really think there's something to be said for the fact that every time leading up to this in the 24, 36 hours since Max was hospitalized, she was constant communication with Jonah. So if he were to send that call and leave that voicemail, I truly believe if she heard it, she would have called him back.
Right. Yeah.
And
I'm surprised she didn't even answer.
well, and so that's why I think that Dina was already there, because Jonah, they didn't say Max was taking a turn for the worse until after Dina left the hospital. She wasn't there when they got that news. It wasn't until she got back to the hospital a couple hours later that Jonah told her. The doctor came in and said,
Yeah,
they don't think he's going to make it.
It's so interesting. It's weird. It's weird. It's sketchy, and it doesn't add up. Period. Point blank. Period. It doesn't add up. Yeah, I agree, Susie. It's like the person had a vendetta. They were trying to shame her and humiliate her as much as possible. And I think it is significant she ended up over a banister. I think it is significant she ended up over a railing.
Well, and also what I think is significant is the fact that the message itself, she saved him. Because
Who? And who saved him?
Well, because
who saved Max?
Dina was under the impression that Rebecca gave him CPR, and when she left the hospital that night, before, I don't know that was her at the witness saw at the front door, but when she left the hospital that night, she left with the doctor saying, "We think things are looking good. We think that he's going to be okay." That's the only reason she left his side that night, because she was going to go home, she said, and get showered, changed, refresh herself a little bit before she went back to the hospital. So that message to me, she saved him, because when she left the hospital, she thought he was going to make it.
Yeah, but I hear what you're saying, and I'm playing devil's advocate here, but if I was an angry mom like that, I wouldn't give her credit for saving him. You're the one who did it to him,
True. That's a good point. What do you think, Trenda?
Give it to us, Trenda.
I'm honestly just kind of listening at this point. I haven't really... I'm trying... This is such a hard case to, like I said, to come to and formulate a real opinion on. There's just so much missing.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have to go down the Reddit hole and start pulling out some good theories with some specifics.
Yeah.
Well, exactly, I've been kind of skimming a little bit. So somebody brought up that there was Asian bondage pornography found on Rebecca's computer, that it was viewed the day before she was found dead.
Yeah, so
the same day?
The day before. And I was aware of that, but she had no history on any of her computers or anything, of any searches of any kind. I always thought of that as, I had forgotten about it. I always found it as a little too convenient.
It is kind of convenient.
If it was something that she had, oh my God, Trenda, I'm sorry. I'm going to shut up and mute. Please go ahead with what you're saying.
No, you're good. I brought that up because I wanted to hear your guys' opinions on it.
Well, I'll be honest. I'll be brutally honest. I like bondage and stuff. I like being tied up. Yet I would have no idea how to make those knots. I'm talking about just pull a bathrobe tie off, and being silly and having fun. You would still have to freaking know. You would have to be extremely experienced to do something like this.
Right. And that's where I think that the fact that, well, wait, Trenda, I don't know if it says in there, and maybe I didn't hear this part. It wasn't on her computer though, was it? Wasn't it just on a computer at the house?
It's just a comment on one of the Reddit threads. One person said that had asked if the cops looked at it, and said that Adam viewed it that night, and someone else was trying to correct and said it was found on Rebecca's computer. So there's a little bit of
okay. Well, that'd be interesting
I'm
to
not
look into.
100% sure on that one.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not either. So that would be interesting, for us to look into and find out.
Those are the specifics I want to look into.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave the screen for 1 second just because I want to grab Trenda's link. And so it might bump me out, but if so, I'll be right back because it's the first time I'm trying this.
Okay, Trenda, when she disappears, we're going to talk about her, okay?
No, come on. Jeez, fine. Okay. Oh, God, if I know how to do this. Okay, I did it.
Yeah, Mel Hawks, I agree. I think as a mom, yeah, how would you not let your emotions just go? Not that it would be okay, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes.
Oh, damn. I was able to do. Okay, great. Sorry. Continue.
No, I was just, and then Susie, yeah, I agree with what you say too. I don't think most women could or would do that.
Trenda, are you doing the Jameson live tomorrow?
Yes, if I can, because I have it. I have it set for 9:00, and I was supposed to do it on Wednesday night, but life kind of got in the way on that one. So I've kind of just been pushing it off a few days, but with it being the weekend, it just depends on if I can get my children to cooperate or not. Okay. So I'm supposed to, so plan on it, but if I have to bump it, there, that's the reason.
I didn't know you were going to do I didn't know you were going to do one on the Jameson family. Oh my God, I'll be there.
I know, Nicole. I'm excited. So basically, anyone who's listening now, this is Trenda's channel. If you don't already know it, Moral Transgressions, please go over and subscribe. As of now, she's doing the Jameson family. And if anybody knows what the Jameson family is, it is another one of those bizarre rabbit hole. Nothing makes sense. It's going to make your head hurt, AKA my favorites. So
yeah, I honestly am so excited to see what you think about it, Trenda.
I know. And when Trenda gets into a case, she goes deep. So I'm really excited. But what I will do is I will keep on top of it with Trenda. And if everything goes as planned, I will share it on my community tab so you guys will know that it is on and for the time. But please go over and subscribe and tune in tomorrow.
I'm already a loyal sub.
I know.
Thank you.
No, I'm excited for that one. I'm really excited for that one.
Hi, Kasha.
So, yeah, I know, Akasha, you came in late, darling, but it's okay. I love you anyway with your peacock feathers. But seriously, thank both of you girls for coming up and doing this with me. I would very much like to do a part 2 and get into all this now that you both said yes. I'm holding you to it, and I don't expect it to be very far away. I'd like to do it sometime soon, so it's fresh on everyone's mind. I urge everybody in the chat who's interested, type into YouTube Rebecca Zahau, Dr. Phil. It'll automatically come up. You don't have to watch commercials or anything. You just watch the clips, watch the reenactments, educate yourself, and come up with your own theories. And so when we come back, we could bounce our ideas and see what's the most plausible explanation.
Yeah, I mean, as much as we have all looked into this, there's probably stuff we don't even know about. I mean, you know how Reddit is.
Yeah. I'm not too familiar with Reddit, but I'm looking forward to figuring it out because I'm at that stage where if I go on Reddit, I don't understand how to navigate and find like, I don't know what the difference with a subreddit or a Reddit is, but I'm going to try to figure it out because apparently that's where all the good theories are and all the good discussions.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. There's a lot of rabbit holes on Reddit. There's people on Reddit that I would think even don't shoot me for saying this, but rival some YouTube true crimers. There
That was me shooting you.
There just some people that dig stuff up on those things, and I mean, it's crazy.
Oh, I love Reddit. It's probably one of my. I swear I say that on every live that I go on,
You
but
do.
Reddit is my absolute go-to, especially when I'm trying to find if I get like hit a wall where I'm not sure on something. I go straight to Reddit, and then, like you said, I find so many different rabbit holes and so many different theories, and it's just nonstop.
Yeah,
That's what
I
it seems
agree.
like to me. It's when you're out of ideas or theories, and then you could read someone else's, and it's like, oh crap, I didn't think of it that way before. Because that
Yeah.
is why I love having so many different people on panel with different perspectives, because a simple different outlook can change everything, because we are all unique. We all look at things a different way. Our brains work differently. It processes differently. So all you need is someone else's insight to shed light on something you wouldn't normally think about.
Exactly. Yeah, I agree.
I'm excited. So
Yay.
hopefully Trenda follows through with tomorrow. I'm going to nag her and hopefully she does it, because I'm looking forward to this. Like, Jameson family. Ooh, it's good. It's good.
It is.
And that's
Yeah,
what
it
I
is
could
such a
use.
good case.
Well,
Yes.
would you like to come up with me tomorrow night?
I could come up with you. I mean,
Okay.
no pressure. I could do it though. It's bizarre. But I love it. It was on my list because of how much I love that case. But I'm excited because I haven't seen a channel cover it live. I've only watched pre-recorded videos that were put together, but I would love the discussion part of it. Like, that's the part that I love most. And hi Diablo, and so excited.
Awesome.
So thank you girls both. I don't want to keep you too late, Trenda, because I know you have the kiddos, but thank you. And thank you for sharing the screen. I'm sorry I had to put that on you, but you did amazing.
No,
I really appreciate it.
Oh no, I don't mind.
You did awesome. And Nicole, thank you for coming up.
Absolutely.
I was hoping that you were going to come up because you're so educated on this case, and I'm really looking forward to going farther down the rabbit hole with both of you girls.
Absolutely. Good night, girls. Good night, chat. Thanks for having me up now.
Yes, thank you, and good night, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Spread some. Oh my God, I can't do my namaste hands anymore because I'm not on my computer. But spread some peace, love, and positivity, everybody. I love you all. Half namaste.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.